This city was supposed to be unsinkable. But on November 21st, 2025, Hat Yai, the largest city in the south of Thailand, responsible for up to $5 billion or 2.6% of the country's GDP, found itself completely submerged by a seemingly impossible chain of events. Back-to-back rounds of record-breaking rainfall, combined with occurrences of almost unbelievable natural phenomena, put some areas of the bustling city under 2.5 meters or 8.2 feet of water, pushing residents to the rooftops and bringing its many industries to a grinding halt. After close to 2 weeks beset by stories of tragedy and even looting, deaths in Hat Yai are estimated in the hundreds. Damages and losses are set to exceed $700 million, and the ability of the country's government has been brought into question. But here's the thing, it wasn't supposed to flood. And Hat Yai is far from the only place that did this year. This is the Signal, where we cut through the noise. Today, we look at Hat Yai's worst disaster in recent memory, and we ask, how did this happen? Was this an isolated incident or the symptom of a bigger problem? This is Hat Yai, part of the southern province of Songkhla. Hat Yai is Thailand's 5th largest city with up to 800,000 people in the broader metropolitan area. And this is Hat Yai underwater. Extraordinary flooding in Hat Yai started near the final weeks of November 2025 after 3 days of near constant heavy rains dumped an estimated 630 millimeters or 25 inches of water onto the municipality. After some of the heaviest storms seen in the area for 300 years, runoff from the hills just outside Hat Yai began to pour water into its urban core, overwhelming the city's waterways and drainage systems. Across the district alone, more than 150,000 people from over 25,000 households were impacted. Students from close to 50 schools were unable to attend classes, and as many as 8 hospitals were shut down. The Songkhla Chamber of Commerce estimates that 80 to 90% of Hat Yai has been impacted by the flooding, with homes, retail spaces, and industrial facilities all hard hit. Coupled with the loss of revenue from the complete paralyzation of the critical economic hub, the Chamber and other financial analysts believe the cost of this episode may be as high as over $780 million. But what if I said that until this latest catastrophe, Hat Yai was actually a model for water management and flood prevention in flood-prone Thailand? Prince of Songkhla University's Disaster Research Center developed advanced models for assessing and even predicting floods. This information supports response units, which are then able to effectively coordinate efforts to limit flood damage and save lives. As recently as 2024, Thailand's Office of National Water Resources said that an elaborate plan was being carried out to prevent flooding across the nation's southern region. These measures promise more reservoirs, improved drainage, entire flood prevention systems, and notably, action to preserve the kinds of ecosystems that help to mitigate flooding before it can take place. So there was a range of disaster prevention tools and approaches that were supposed to make Hat Yai flood-proof. But even with seemingly adequate planning and attention, Hat Yai became the latest victim of extreme weather events. The Bureau of Water Management and Hydrology explained that Hat Yai's devastating flood was actually 2 separate episodes of inundation that occurred within days of each other. Heavy rains caused canals in the city to overflow between November 19th and 22nd, before runoff from nearby Sadao district made matters worse on November 22nd. High levels in up to 4 different rivers flowing towards Hat Yai made it so waters overtook the city and stayed. The nation's hydrology office also pointed to changes in Hat Yai's plot in recent years. Usually, runoff from mountains into the area would quickly make its way into the sea, resulting in only short episodes of no more than a day. Now, however, regular paths for water flow have been diverted for land development. On top of revealing the shortcomings of the drainage, the immense volume of water experienced by Hat Yai exposed how even one of Thailand's greatest success stories in flood management might not be equipped for a future made uncertain by climate change. The flooding disaster that overwhelmed Hat Yai and several other areas of southern Thailand is actually the second such event to take place in Thailand within the span of only a few months. Deluge in the country's north earlier in 2025 were characterized as the worst seen in the region in 80 years and made a list of the 10 costliest disasters in Thailand's history. The reality is that between 2000 and 2019, close to 150 major natural disasters took place in Thailand, averaging 138 lives per year and nearly 1% of the country's GDP in loss. The dramatic scene in Hat Yai took place just as Thailand moved up to 17th place on German Watch's Climate Risk Index for 2026, jumping from 72nd place just 3 years ago in 2022. That means that Thailand is more vulnerable than ever to severe natural phenomena like heat waves and, of course, flooding. Rankings may feel abstract, but the devastation isn't. What happened in Hat Yai is what could be in store for all of us in the future. The same storm system that battered Hat Yai led to over 750 deaths in Indonesia, with further casualties and tens of thousands made to seek shelter in Malaysia. Landslides triggered by Cyclone Ditwa claimed over 400 lives in Sri Lanka shortly after the storm made landfall on November 28th, eventually triggering the evacuation of thousands. Vietnam, a coastal nation susceptible to violent weather, has recorded over 400 losses of life due to overlapping disasters linked to rainfall in 2025 alone. There's a real sense that extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and more intense, and that our disaster preparedness is falling further and further behind. The question being asked now is, does Thailand's leadership have what it takes to catch up? The latest administration, in power for only 2 months before the calamity, has already come under fire for its response to the situation. Some critics say that Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul was too slow to act, both in terms of adequately warning Hat Yai residents and mobilizing the aid they needed. The Prime Minister declared an emergency decree on November 25th, with the country's supreme commander indicated as the central authority. This was quickly changed just the following day on November 26th, when Prime Minister Anutin assumed responsibility himself. The move added to confusion and a slowing of actual aid work. The apparent missteps in the wake of Hat Yai's flooding have given weight to uncertainty over whether Thailand's leaders truly understand the gravity of what's happening and if they'll do what it takes to prevent more loss. Against the backdrop of calls to better integrate agencies for managing water, deciding on a definitive action plan for flood response, and adequately preparing the public for the realities of the future, there is now the undeniable need to address all the threats that climate change is bringing. With the formerly unsinkable city of Hat Yai now the latest victim of unprecedented meteorological events, countries like Thailand have even more reason to act with intention against climate change. I'm Benjamin Ruchobagan, and this was Cutting Through the Noise on the Signal by The Nation.